Welcome back to On the Rise with myself, Lane, and we are here today to break down the recent Tajon Buchanan to Inter Milan transfer and why I believe this move makes so much sense. And for me, this might just be my favorite video I've had to do to date around Canadian football, as this is by far the biggest transfer video I've had to do yet, and I'll probably have to do for a long time around Canadian football. So let's get right into all the action. Despite Inter Milan having right wingbacks at the club with the likes of Dutch international in Denzel Dumfries and Juan Cuadrado, they will have a giant hole shaping up at right wingback very soon. So the club have looked to Tajon Buchanan, the Canadian, to step in as the replacement for the aging and ever so injury prone Juan Cuadrado, also looking to see him as the future right wing back to replace the likes of the Dutch international in Denzel Dumfries, who has been rumored to leave Inter Milan for some time and is very much expected to leave the club this coming summer transfer window. Tajon Buchanan joining Inter Milan immediately becomes one of the biggest Canadian football transfers in history, with Tajon Buchanan joining one of the best sides in Italian football in the Serie A, who are currently in the running to win the Scudetto this season, and reigning Champions League finalists who fell out to Manchester City just last season. But that's not just all, as Tajon Buchanan joining Inter Milan makes him the first Canadian to ever play in the Serie A, and also the 52nd country to ever represent Inter Milan. Before we can look into this move and why this makes sense for Tajon Buchanan and Inter Milan, we have to look at the financial side of things and the details around this transfer for the Canadian. Tajon Buchanan joins Inter Milan for a fee of 7 million euros from Club Brugge in Belgium, as the deal could possibly rise to around 10 million euros if all add-ons are met. But this deal also has Tajon Buchanan signing a 5-year contract at Milan, which could see the Canadian through staying at Milan in Italy until 2028. But this deal is one of very few Canadians that have ever received the famous "Here we go" from Fabrizio Romano. But what type of right wingback will Inter Milan be acquiring in the Canadian Tajon Buchanan? Well, Inter Milan won't just be getting themselves an out-and-out right wing-back. They're getting themselves a complete footballer, as Tajon Buchanan is a truly versatile footballer. This season at Club Brugge, under manager Ronny Deila, Buchanan was used in a multitude of positions, as Tajon was predominantly used at the right wing-back position for the Norwegian manager's side, where the Canadian plays his best football at the highest level at right wing back. Of course, he can play in a multitude of positions, but right wing back is by far his best position at the top level of football. And of course, where Inter Milan has signed Tajon Buchanan to play. But Tajon also played in a lot more positions this season, at the likes of right midfield, left midfield, and even as a number 10 as an attacking-minded midfielder, which will be extremely versatile traits to have for the likes of Simone Inzaghi, the Inter Milan manager. And tactically for his Milan side, having a player that can adapt and flow and change on different positions throughout a match is such a useful trait to have as a player, and will bring a lot for Simone Inzaghi for his side tactically. Tactically, Inter Milan under Simone Inzaghi has chosen to use this side in a 3-5-2, and with that 5-man midfield, Tajon Buchanan fits that right wing-back position like a glove. But if Simone Inzaghi so chooses to change things up and use a different formation or tactical outlook heading into a big match, or change things up during a match, Buchanan is a perfect man to have on the pitch and on your side, as Tajon Buchanan can change into many positions. If Inzaghi so chooses to move this side into a 4-man defense, seamlessly Tajon can transition into that right back role very well. And if Simone Inzaghi so chooses to want to use Tajon in one of the wings, he can do that to a high level as well, as Tajon Buchanan has played right wing on a multitude of times with the likes of Inter Milan or Canada, and he has even played left wing a couple of times as well for the Canadian national team. So having a player like this in Tajon Buchanan, Simone Inzaghi has a high level of tactical flexibility when heading into a big match, say Juventus, AC Milan, and one of the bigger sides in Serie A, or the Champions League, or just wanting to change things up in a match. Well, one question Inter Milan fans have been asking is how Tajon Buchanan will help contribute to Inter Milan in the offensive third. Well, Tajon brings an abundance of attacking potential to a very exciting Inter Milan side already, as Tajon Buchanan's best quality is of course his dribbling ability to progressively carry the ball up the pitch at an extremely high level, and I'm sure Milan fans have all been watching compilations of Tajon Buchanan online already and saying that could be just on film, it could be just little bits and parts, but that is exactly who Tajon Buchanan is. He has very quick and rapid feet, and being able to move the ball up the pitch with his beautiful step overs, his quick bursts of pace, is exactly what Tajon Buchanan will bring to this Milan side, and he does it at such high qualities with his bursts of speed, his fast feet, and he can progressively carry that ball up the pitch at a very high level, as this season has seen Tajon Buchanan produce 4.32 progressive carries per 90 minutes, according to FBref, putting the Canadian wingback into the 98th percentile among all fullbacks in world football, which is truly incredible. With Tajon Buchanan's ability to progress the ball quickly up the pitch at an extremely high level, it will allow Inter Milan to create a lot more chances and overloads in wide spaces, with Buchanan's moving into the final third of the pitch. As playing in a 5-man midfield now at that right wing-back position, Tajon Buchanan will have a lot more freedom and a lot more chances to express his ability to go forward, as he won't have to worry as much on the defensive style of the game, as he did have to at Club Brugge, giving him the more opportunities for the Canadian to bomb on and create more overloads and more chances to get the ball off the pitch for this Inter Milan side, which will massively help out Inter Milan and Simone Inzaghi's side in the offensive third. A common trend these days for Canadian fullbacks and wingbacks is their electric pace and speed, and one player that comes to mind for any football fan worldwide is Alphonso Davies when those stats and attributes are brought up. And Tajon Buchanan finds himself in that exact same category as Alphonso Davies. He might not be exactly as fast or quick, but he is extremely fast when with and without the ball, as Tajon Buchanan comes in at 6 feet tall, which gives him those very long strides, and he's very tall for a wingback. Having this body type gives Tajon Buchanan those long, quick strides, which allows him to cover lots of ground over short spaces of time. And his pace is very much utilized when with and without the ball. When not in possession, Buchanan's speed allows him to maintain and keep up with opposition wingers, as the Canadian is very disciplined and switched on defensively for his side. He is a very great footballer, always staying concentrated and disciplined whenever he's in possession or out of possession, as he constantly offers his pace defensively for those recovery runs to keep track of those opposition wingers, and especially when in that 3 in the back formation to help out his center backs at all costs. Tajon's defensive game is of course still lacking, as his defensive game and tackling does need quite a bit of work still, but being able to rely on his pace to help him out defensively and back him out of a lot of holes like Alphonso Davies does at Bayern Munich, where his speed heavily bails him out sometimes, and now playing in a more offensive style role for Inter Milan with less defensive responsibilities for Tajon Buchanan, it will of course help him out and not having to worry about that defensive style game as much. But of course, when talking about some parts of his game that are still lacking, his game is still very raw on the other hand, guys. Defensively, he is lacking quite a bit. Like I said, his tackling is still very raw. He's still developing that tackling ability. For a right wing back, that will come, especially playing with players like Matteo Darmian, like Denzel Dumfries, under a manager like Simone Inzaghi. But also, on the other hand, Tajon Buchanan's finishing is still extremely raw. Sometimes his thinking and his quality in the final third does lack, and his decision making can be a bit questionable. But that finishing will come, that decision making in the final third will come, especially at such a top side like Inter Milan. Simone Inzaghi and top players and professionals will help Inter Milan's new signing understand that final part of the game to really polish his game up and make it not as raw. This move won't just affect Inter Milan on the pitch, but also off the pitch. As signing the first Canadian to ever step foot in the Serie A, this move will attract a lot of Canadian attention and bring a lot of new supporters to Italian football, and especially to Inter Milan, as this historic club has taken a huge step to help Canadian football, to bring in the first ever Canadian to play in the Serie A, and he is ready to prove himself at the top level. And no matter who Canadians truly support right now, they are certainly all flocking to support Inter Milan now as their number one club, or certainly their second club. For Canadian supporters, this move continues to show how far this country has come in the world of football. And for myself, I could have never seen a move like this coming for any Canadian footballer just a few years ago, as our national team a couple of years ago had some mid-level MLS players and had a few unattached players who were free agents on the national team. And now we are seeing a player like Tajon Buchanan come up and sign for one of the best clubs in world football, in Inter Milan, in one of the most exciting transfers I have ever witnessed in my lifetime as a Canadian supporter. Which is why I believe Inter Milan bringing in the Canadian Tajon Buchanan makes so much sense. Being able to bring in Tajon Buchanan, who brings you a new level of tactical flexibility and versatility you don't exactly get from Juan Cuadrado or Denzel Dumfries, and especially a player who is with you for the long term until 2028 on a 5-year deal, who has so much upside and potential, especially when you got a 35-year-old Juan Cuadrado who is leaving, and the likes of Denzel Dumfries, who is currently the number one player of the summer, to exit as his renewal is looking ever so difficult to be finalized. But also getting that new offensive level of your game in the final third through Tajon Buchanan that you don't get through Denzel Dumfries, as Tajon brings that electric pace and acceleration that you don't get from any other players on that wingback spot. He's so quick, he's just like Alphonso Davies, and his dribbling, albeit maybe a little bit raw, is extremely exciting. But also, maybe not so much for Inter Milan fans, but hugely for Canadian fans, bringing in the first Canadian into the Serie A in its history, and of course, to Inter Milan's history. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think down below. Does Tajon Buchanan to Inter Milan makes sense? I've been on the rise with myself, Lane. Like, comment, and subscribe, as we have so much more content coming around the likes of Ike Ugbo's video. We have Maxime Crepeau, and Kamal Miller's video will be out in the next couple of days. Guys, I look forward to seeing you guys for so much more content, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, or these videos. And I'd love to see your guys' reactions. Comment, subscribe, like, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.